Hey Mama, welcome to the podcast. It's Jocelyn here and I am excited to be with you. I often just kind of come up with these topics based on what I've read, what I've observed, conversation, or things that have kind of happened around me, and things that I'm learning, and I like to share those with you. And the other day I read a post on Instagram that really got me thinking and made me want to do an episode on marriage again. Marriage is so important, and I feel like strengthening our marriage can strengthen our motherhood. And as we positively choose to strengthen our marriage, it gives us positivity in our motherhood and throughout this time of childbearing and child rearing years. I have really come to understand marriage and its importance, and I hope that as you listen, you might glean some of its importance and strive to find a little bit more positivity and encouragement in the aspect of strengthening your marriage. Hi, I'm Jocelyn, host of the Positive in Pregnancy and Motherhood podcast. I help pregnant women and mothers to find positivity in their season of life through changing their thoughts to work for them and not against them. I help mothers find the small, doable steps in thought and action without making drastic changes to their everyday mom life. And I can help you. Thanks for joining. So as I had mentioned, I read this post on Instagram from someone who I don't follow, but I don't even remember how I came across it. But I came across his post and I really liked it and thought it gave great insight. And I'm also reading the 5 Love Languages again, / listening to it for a book club. And marriage is so important. After your relationship with God, it should be your marriage and strengthening that. And I know it's not always easy to do because we get busy and we get filled up with meeting our children's need that sometimes the marriage can be hard to do or hard to even think of before our kids and putting our marriage in that order. God, marriage, children. Not to say that you're going to neglect your children for your marriage. No, but it's doing the little things to think of your husband. And today I want to encourage you some little things to do for your husband. Now, these tips come from an influencer, and I'm going to summarize them a little bit in my own words. But they, to me, were just simple but powerful. And I think that's what it takes. I think it takes the simple, which can equate to the powerful. And the first tip was, he's talking about marriage, and he said, marry someone that you love so much. And he goes on to talk about how it's not someone that you just think you can live with, but someone you can't live without, someone whose company you love. Now, I imagine if you are listening to this podcast, you are likely married. And I imagine that at some point before you were married, you just loved your spouse. You were enthralled, you were excited, you were infatuated, and you loved spending time with them. Now that you've been married for some time and gone through some children, I imagine that it's been a little bit maybe different. Maybe it's not quite the same fireworks, and sometimes it's hard. I understand that because I have gone through those phases too. But remember that love that you felt, and remember how fun it was to be with that person. How can you foster some of that love back into your life? The second thing he had wrote about was marry someone that you can suffer with. And I thought this was interesting insight because when you get married, you don't think of suffering. But honestly, in real life, it brings suffering. Like, it is beautiful, but it also can be very difficult, especially when you add children and everything that come with them in the mix, and then raising children. I'm sure that's been a dynamic that has had difficulties. Sometimes the way my husband sees to raise and teach the children is a little different than my perspective of raising and teaching the children, and we have to work through that, and it can be hard, but it is worth working through together. And it's not just in raising kids, but there are going to be times when it is hard. It is suffering. Maybe it's financial suffering or physical suffering. And things are just hard. Do that with your spouse, though. Turn to them. And instead of confiding in other people, confide in them. Let them know your emotions, your worries, your pains, your fears. That makes your marriage stronger when you do that. If you haven't read the 5 love languages, I would highly recommend it. It has changed my marriage. Like, this is not paid advertising or anything. This is just me saying that if you want to be able to learn to speak each other's languages to where you can still, fill each other's love cup up, that book is pivotal. Highly recommend it. He also goes on to talk about how purity isn't just before marriage, it's during marriage. The enemy will stop at nothing to destroy your marriage. God will hold your marriage in perfect peace as we choose to live purely in the things of God. And that one just really resonated with me because I'm sure you've observed it, that Satan is trying to destroy families. He is trying to get in there and get them to divide and to cause contention. And he's doing it through marriages, through the little things that annoy people about their spouses, that over time compound. And then they get to a point to where they don't even feel that love anymore. And it's because all those little things have compounded. Now, just think if you compound those little things in the other way, in the positive way, the things you do like about your husband, and you dwell on those instead of the negative. God is willing to help us in these things. But it does take our effort and it does take our work to try and do the things that will make our husbands happy and that will make us both happy in marriage. Marriage is selfless. We have to be a little bit more selfless instead of selfish when it comes to loving and supporting our spouse. All right, and 5th one says, girls, laugh at your husbands. This is all we want. As long as my wife laughs at the stupid things I say, I know she loves me. And I loved this one because I'll actually tell you a little story to illustrate how I need to improve at this. But my husband jokes that he can hear my eyes roll. So when he does something silly or says something dumb, he's like, yep, I heard that one, meaning he heard my eyes roll. And instead of rolling my eyes and being annoyed at some of the silly and ridiculous things he does, I need to laugh and just enjoy him instead of thinking, oh my goodness, you're so immature and ridiculous. I just need to enjoy that. And it has kind of, in ways, become a funny joke now, but I also realize that that is somewhere where I need to improve. Instead of doing the eye roll, maybe I just need to laugh with him and laugh at the things he does and support him in some of these, silly things just through laughing. Anyway, those are 5 tips he gave. And the influencer, I'm sure you're wanting to know, his name is Cole Brandt. They're a Christian couple who are very big influencers. And like I say, I don't remember exactly how I found his post, but it just really resonated with me. And I hope that as you go throughout this week, that you will find the parts of this podcast episode that resonated with you and that you will implement them into your marriage. It is the small things that are going to bring that love back into your marriage, even if it's as simple as changing your own thoughts. Maybe you don't even voice anything or do anything that way, but you begin to shift your thoughts about your husband. And as you do that, it will make it a lot easier for the actions to follow. Shift your thoughts, do a small action, laugh at him, and find purity, goodness, and beauty in your marriage because it's there. It takes work, it takes intentionality, but it's there. You are amazing, Mama, and I am so excited to be here on this marriage journey. Marriage is so hard, but also so exciting and thrilling, and let's keep it that way. Be a little bit spontaneous and different for your husband, and show up in the way that you know he would love to be loved. Thank you for sharing this episode, but most of all, thank you for implementing what you hear into your own life for more positivity in motherhood, in marriage, and everything in between. If you have time, I would really appreciate a 5-star review on iTunes. That helps other mothers find this podcast, or even word of mouth. I don't do any paid advertising, so it helps when you share it with your friends. Until next time. Thank you for being a part of the Positive in Pregnancy and Motherhood podcast, for listening, for sharing, and most of all, for applying these tools into your own life to improve your own happiness so that you can find your own better thoughts for a better you in a positive pregnancy, in losing that stubborn baby weight, and becoming the mom you desire to be through taking small steps in thought and action to reach your goals. If you are a mother who has an inner desire to enjoy motherhood and pregnancy better, but you are having difficulty figuring it out, I can help you. I can help you find the small, doable steps without drastic changes to your everyday mom life. Reach out, let's connect, and let's see you move forward. My name is Jocelyn, and I thank you for listening. Until next time.